Welcome, friend. You didn't come here just to learn English. You came for something deeper. You came for a story that speaks to the heart. Today's story is not about a superstar. It's about a man who walked through storms with silence and strength. A man whose life wasn't always bright, but whose spirit never faded. This is the story of Clint Eastwood. Not the actor we see in movies, but the man behind the camera, behind the fame, the boy who grew up in hard times, the thinker, the risk-taker, the survivor. Through every challenge, he held on to something stronger than fear, belief in himself, belief in doing what's right. So as you listen, don't just focus on the words. Feel the message. Let it teach you more than English. Let it teach you courage, patience, and purpose. This is more than a lesson. It's a journey. Let's begin. Clint Eastwood was born on May 31st, 1930, in San Francisco, California, during the tremors of the Great Depression. His father, Clint Eastwood Sr., worked as a steel worker, while his mother, Margaret Ruth, cared for the family. They lived a nomadic life during Clint's childhood, moving from town to town along the West Coast as jobs came and went. Young Clint was tall and quiet, with a reserved nature that set him apart. He was never the top student in class nor the center of attention, but his strong will and deep, observing eyes hinted at a restless, searching soul. As a teenager, Clint worked various odd jobs: lifeguard, grocery clerk, paperboy, and even a logger. Each job taught him discipline, patience, and grit, qualities that would one day define his screen presence. In 1951, Eastwood was drafted into the U.S. Army during the Korean War. Stationed at Fort Orden, California, fate dealt him a curious hand. A military friend introduced him to people in the film industry. One day, while Clint was merely riding a military plane, it crashed into the ocean. He survived by swimming over a mile to shore, a true story that added another layer to his mythos. After the Army, Clint stayed in Los Angeles and took acting lessons. He was tall, rugged, and photogenic, but his early auditions went terribly. He was criticized for his awkward delivery and for speaking too slowly. Rejection came in floods, yet Clint kept at it. Finally, in 1954, Universal Pictures gave him a small contract. He appeared in bit parts, usually uncredited roles as a lab assistant or fighter pilot. Though far from stardom, these were his first steps into the movie world. Clint's breakthrough came not in theaters but on television. In 1959, he landed the role of Rowdy Yates in the CBS Western series Rawhide. For 8 seasons, he rode across black and white screens, gaining steady recognition. Yet, Clint grew frustrated. He didn't want to be known as just another cowboy on TV. Though Rawhide made him a household name, he yearned for something deeper, a role with more mystery, more danger. That chance came from Italy. In the early 1960s, Italian director Sergio Leone approached Eastwood with a peculiar offer: star in a Western film shot in Spain, inspired by Japanese samurai cinema. With nothing to lose, Clint accepted. A Fistful of Dollars, 1964, introduced the world to the man with no name. Wearing a poncho, chewing a cigar, and delivering lines like bullets, Eastwood's performance was magnetic. It was raw, understated, and powerfully different. The success of the film shocked everyone. He followed it with For a Few Dollars More, 1965, and The Good, The Bad, and the Ugly, 1966, completing one of cinema's most iconic trilogies. Eastwood had reinvented the Western genre. He was no longer just Rowdy Yates. He was a mysterious, cold-eyed antihero. Hollywood took notice. In 1971, Clint Eastwood starred as Inspector Harry Callahan in Dirty Harry. The film tapped into America's fears of rising crime and lawlessness. Clint's character was a hard-edged cop who didn't play by the rules. The line, "Do you feel lucky, punk?" became immortal. Dirty Harry was a phenomenon. Audiences loved the intensity, the moral ambiguity, and Eastwood's cool demeanor. He reprised the role in 4 sequels over the years, each reinforcing his image as the no-nonsense, morally complex American hero. While many stars fade, Eastwood evolved. In 1971, he directed his first feature film, Play Misty for Me, a psychological thriller that proved he wasn't just a pretty face or a trigger-happy cowboy. He was a storyteller. Throughout the 70s and 80s, Clint directed and starred in films that expanded his legacy. High Plains Drifter, The Outlaw Josie Wales, and Pale Rider. His westerns were darker, philosophical, and deeply personal. He became known for minimalist direction, emotionally rich stories, and characters torn between justice and vengeance. Eastwood began choosing stories not for commercial appeal, but for creative value. He became one of the few stars to consistently direct himself, often taking risks that most studios wouldn't. By the mid-1980s, critics began calling Eastwood outdated. His style, his characters, and even his westerns were viewed as relics of another time. Films like City Heat and Pink Cadillac flopped. Studios doubted his relevance. Some even called him a has-been. For Eastwood, it was painful, but he didn't fight back with anger. He fought back with art. In 1992, Clint Eastwood released Unforgiven, a dark, reflective western about aging gunslingers, moral ambiguity, and the brutal consequences of violence. The film was not just a movie. It was a meditation on Eastwood's entire career. Unforgiven won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. For Clint, it was redemption, a powerful reminder to Hollywood that the cowboys still had something to say. Eastwood refused to slow down. As he aged, his films became more introspective and deeply emotional. He directed Mystic River, 2003, a haunting story of trauma and guilt. The film earned 6 Oscar nominations. Then came $1 Million Baby, 2004, the heartbreaking story of a female boxer and her aging trainer. The film won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and a second Best Director Oscar for Clint. He was 74. In his late 70s and 80s, he continued to direct complex, award-worthy films. Letters from Iwo Jima, Gran Torino, American Sniper, Sully, and Richard Jewell. He explored themes of patriotism, honor, forgiveness, and he overlooked heroes of American life. Behind the screen, Clint Eastwood's life was just as layered. He was a jazz lover, an accomplished pianist, and a father to 8 children from multiple relationships. Though private and often guarded, Clint has been open about the mistakes of his youth and his complex personal choices. He served as mayor of Carmel, California, from 1986 to 1988, emphasizing public service and simplicity. He never chased luxury or fame. Instead, he stayed true to his values of discipline, independence, and perseverance. Eastwood avoided Hollywood's spotlight, choosing to live by the ocean, create art, and stay focused. His relationships were many, and some were strained, but he remained connected to his children and those close to him. What makes Clint Eastwood a legend isn't just his box office success or his 2 Oscars. It's the journey. From a Depression-era child to a global icon. From rejected actor to masterful director. From cowboy to philosopher. He changed the Western. He changed the action film. He changed the very idea of what it means to age in Hollywood. Clint never chased youth or popularity. He chased truth in storytelling, in character, in music, and in life. Even into his 90s, Eastwood showed no sign of stopping. He directed Cry Macho in 2021 and hinted at retirement. Yet he returned once more with new projects. Each new film, whether praised or criticized, is met with respect. Why? Because when Clint Eastwood speaks, cinema listens. He is not just an actor. He is not just a director. He is a symbol of resilience, of transformation, and of timeless storytelling. Clint Eastwood didn't just make movies. He became a myth. Clint Eastwood, a man with no limits. A life carved in stone, shadow, silence, and steel. If you enjoy the video, please like, subscribe, and share.